Morning, class. Today we're going to talk about European exploration. Um, the first thing I want you to write down, and I'll try to take short pauses to give you some time to write down, but of course, this is a video, so you can pause it yourself. The first thing I want you to write down is God, glory, and gold under European exploration. So just write down exactly what you see on the screen. If you ever get asked the motivations for exploration or, the reasons why they wanted to explore, I won't say the reasons, but what motivated them to keep exploring. The answer is God, glory, and gold. All right. God, because they wanted to spread their religion. They wanted to spread Christianity amongst the masses, the way that they worshiped and believed in their religion. They wanted glory. If you know what glory means, that means they wanted their success story to be on top. They wanted to be the best. And gold, of course, they wanted money. They wanted to find gold. These are the three motives that kept them exploring. So we talked about the Renaissance. You should know what the Renaissance stands for. Now it stands for exactly rebirth. The rebirth specifically of art and learning. So people are becoming smart now, and you know how you smart people are. When you're smart, you want to become smarter. You want to know more as much as you possibly can, and you have this curiosity about yourself. And they start to develop this spirit of curiosity and adventure, and they want to explore and see what's out there, see if the world's bigger. They also desire to grow rich and spread Christianity. Right? They want to spread their religion amongst people because they think their religion is such a wonderful religion that a lot of people need to follow it. The advancements in selling, all right, are going to help spur an age of exploration. So, three different things. If you we talked about this yesterday when we talked about the perfect storm helped a lot of things start. It helped a lot of things in history starting. You had this perfect storm starting to develop to create the age of exploration. All right, so the main reason that they really argued that they needed to explore and that they really, I guess, justified exploring from a financial sense was trade. All right, they needed to get to India. India had the goods, and you're going to see this for the next hundreds of years. India being a place where everybody wants the goods from, because if you look at India on a map and their location, all right, it's basically a peninsula. It's close to Asia. It's close to the Middle East. You can get to Africa from it. Um, and the land is very fertile, and they have a lot of resources that a lot of places in the world don't have. In a way, Europe's tired of dealing with Muslims. Now, why do you think they're tired of dealing with the Muslims? Why are they upset with the Muslims right now? Exactly. We just had the Crusades. We just had the Holy Wars with the Muslims. So we're not really, or Christians are not really on good terms with Muslims. So they needed to find a direct sea route. Again, you want to write this down. All right. Europeans wanted to find a direct sea route to India. So their motivations, reasons they wanted to go to India and other places, God, gold, glory. But when exploration first started, the first place they wanted to find a route to was India. These are all things that you want to write down. This is some technology that is going to end up helping. We'll talk more about this when I get back, but you go ahead and write these down. Some things that help the age of exploration. And, I have the definitions beside it. So it's kind of common sense how they help. So we're not going to spend a lot of time on that. But you do want to write them down, and they will be on your test. Okay. You want to write this down. Portugal is the first country to start exploring. Portugal is the first European country to start exploring. It starts with Prince Henry. Write him down first. And then you want to write down the first sentence beside him. He sails down the coast of Africa. Of course, think about it. He's exploring, where are these people trying to get? These Europeans are trying to find a route where? Good job. Trying to find a route to India. So he sails down the coast of Africa. All right. Again, we talked about this thing of a map, and Alex talked about how a map helps us find our way back. So we can't really have a map. No, we don't really have a map going there because we haven't been there before. So we're creating the map as we go. All right. So if you think about a problem with that, one of the biggest issues is you can't account for how long the trip is going to be, how many resources you'll need, um, how long how long you're going to be on sea. I might have said that. How expensive the voyage is going to be. So these things you can't account for. So you find out as you're on the way to, okay, I'm running out of food. I need to go back. And then when you go back and the next person explores, they're going to learn from your mistakes that they need to do what? Probably carry more food. All right. Be prepared for a longer voyage. So he's not going to find a route to India. He's going to sail halfway down the coast of Africa before he has to turn around. But as he stops on one of the ports in Africa, he's dazzled by the large supply of gold, silver, jewels, and spices. He talks to his crew and he's like, wow, this place, they have a lot of resources that, we didn't even realize they had this many resources towards the middle of Africa. All right. And that's kind of going to start this thing of Europeans understanding that Africa is a place that has a lot of resources. And that's going to keep them coming back over the next 100 years. All right. Next one to write down, Bartholomew Diaz. He's a Portuguese explorer. All these guys are Portuguese. He wanted to serve God and his majesty, to give light to those who were in darkness, and to grow rich as all men desire to do. So he wanted to get gold, and he wanted to spread Christianity. He felt that the Asians needed to be Christianized. You want to write the last sentence for him. He reached the southern tip of Africa. So he's going to make it further than Prince Henry. And I'll show you a map in a little bit, which shows all of this. Then we have Vasco da Gama. Da Gama began exploring the East African coast. He's actually going to make it in 1498. He's going to reach Calicut. Da Gama is going to give Portugal a direct line to India. And you just want to write that last sentence. Vasco da Gama gives Portugal a direct line to India. Now, guess what? Yes, you've got to remember all three of these guys and where they went. So make sure you study this at night. But I'll try to give you a way to remember when we go over it on Monday. So you see Prince Henry. This is a map of Prince Henry's voyage. You see he makes it halfway down the coast of Africa before he goes back home. Then you see Vasco da Gama. He goes all the way to the southern tip. All right, before he goes back home. Then, I'm sorry. This is Bartholomew Diaz. This is Vasco da Gama. Vasco da Gama goes all the way to India, all right, before he has to go back home. All right, so now if you look at Spain on the map, Spain is right next to Portugal. So when you see Portugal finding a direct route to India, all right, from direct route, you're cutting out the middleman. So in a way, that could kind of be more money, kind of, all right? And I'll explain that on Monday. Spain sees Portugal, all right, having all these voyages, finding all these things, bringing back all these resources, telling all these stories, and you start having this competitiveness start between countries in Europe, all right? Really starts in the exploration. And Spain's like, oh, well, if they can explore, we can explore too. This is when Christopher Columbus comes in. He convinces Spain to finance himself a voyage to find a trade route to Asia by sailing west. All right, so let's explain that. You look right here, all right, you go this way, that's east, okay? He's traveling southeast to India. So this is Portugal, and this is Spain, and Christopher Columbus says, I think, because we've never been west, I think if I go west, I will find Asia that way. They don't realize that's the one of the most fascinating things about history at this point is, they don't realize that South America, that there's lands over there at this point. All right. They don't realize that there's lands over there. So he's thinking, they understand that the world is round at this point, that if he sails west, he's going to end up in Asia. All right. Well, his ships are going to reach America, but he thought he reached the Indies. You want to write Christopher Columbus reaches America. And then you want to write he thought he was in the East Indies in Asia. This is why he gave the Native Americans the names Indians. Now, you call them Indians, that is not their correct name. All right? Christopher Columbus, you can argue he was a dummy, okay? Because he was not nowhere near India or the West Indies, so they should not have been given the name Indians. We should refer to them as Native Americans. The unfortunate part is when you take your American history classes, every war, everything in your textbook is going to be known as Indians because historians and people who recorded information over time continue to record information by using the term Indian after Christopher Columbus. Many Native Americans could see that term as offensive. Keep that in mind. So, Portugal thought Spain had reached Asia. They thought they did because Christopher Columbus was bragging. And this rivalry grows more, more, more. Now, explorers are now getting gold, glory, expanding their religion. The nations want more and more land. With so much tension and rivalry, they went to the Pope, and the Pope suggested that an imaginary divided line be drawn north to south through the Atlantic Ocean, which basically said, and I'll show this. You want to write Treaty of Tordesillas. And you want to write when Spain and Portugal agreed to honor the line. And if you want to write more on the next slide, I think it's a map. I should be able to help you understand it a little bit more. Oh no, where's my map? I guess I don't have a map. Okay, so I have to show it to you. Remind me to show you, explain the Treaty of Tordesillas on Monday because you would not understand it without a map. All right, we're going to skip this and talk about that later. Spain wanted Columbus to set up colonies. You want to write colonies down. Colonies, lands that are controlled by another nation. Oh, when Columbus gets there, he's going to start earning money from that land. That's what they want. He's not just going to, say, oh, well, we found it and we can come back now. No, he's going to colonize that area, which basically means take over that area and start trying to live there. And what you either have read or you're going to read is about how Christopher Columbus, some ways and methods in which he colonized and why he felt he should colonize. Ferdinand Magellan sails around the southern end of South America into the Pacific Ocean. All right. You don't have to write Ferdinand down, but you do need to write Hernando Cortez. Cortez landed on the shores of Mexico as they were eager to colonize the America's homeland. Those who followed him were conquistadors. You want to write conquistadors down. Conquistadors are Spanish conquerors. All right. Hernando Cortez is a Spanish conqueror, which leads me to the next person you want to write down. You want to write down Francisco Pizarro. All right, so you should have written down Hernando Cortez, Conquistador, Francisco Pizarro. Beside Hernando Cortez, put Aztec. Beside Francisco Pizarro, put Inca. We are going to talk about this on Monday. I'll tell you the story of what happened on Monday. If you want to read it in advance, you can read it in advance. But like I said, I'm going to talk about it on Monday and show you why these people thought what they were doing was okay. All right. Relationships started developing between Spanish and Native women. So the European Spanish, came to the Aztecs' land, and Aztecs took over what is modern day Mexico. All right. They created this race, and this race called mestizo started to develop. And you want to write mestizo. It means mixed with Spanish and Native American. All right. That was the population that started to develop. The Spanish there established encomiendas. You also want to know what that is. The encomiendas is a slave system. All right. It's a slave system where Native Americans had to work the land for the Spanish. Now, the other sets of notes has a lot of videos. So I'm going to present that on Monday instead of doing a recording. All right, that's it for today's notes. But hopefully you should be somewhat understanding of this whole age of exploration, why it started happening. And you're going to find out more about the positives and negatives of it today in class as you're working. Hope you have a good day. Take care.